Woof woof and namaste. This is Hill Dog welcoming you to Kanha Cast, a series of conversations from Kanha Shanti Vanam, the International Center of Heartfulness in Telangana, India. Today I will be speaking to Brother Akshay Nagpal. He is a corporate lawyer and a heartfulness meditation trainer. For those of you who don't know, heartfulness is a worldwide movement providing free meditation training to everyone. So thank you, Brother Akshay, for coming to the Kanha studio and taking time out. You've had a very busy 3 days. You were here just a few days back. You came to Kanha. So what has this trip been like? How has it been?
Okay, so I would say this trip has been one of the. I'm yet to fully understand the relevance of this trip. But whatever intuition it's coming to me, I think some greater understanding about having priorities right, especially for a seeker, is something which has been a highlight of this trip. Adding a faith and trust in that what we feel during meditation every day, what we call inner master or energy or divinity or different names, but it's actually infinity, right? Having a trust that keeping that in the center, rest and periphery will actually be taken care of, right? Many a times we are quite anxious and worried about the periphery or what ought to be periphery, so to say. And we feel responsible for it in many ways. And we move away from the center. But what I realized during this trip is that as long as we focus on the center and prioritize it, periphery actually gets taken care of. Not to mean that you just keep sitting and meditating and someone will put food on your table. You do act the way you ought to act. And at the same time, things will be taken care of. I can give an example if you like.
Yes, please.
Yeah. So I was here and it was, first there was a heartfulness Train the Trainer program
yes,
going on.
Seminar.
Yeah, what we call Preceptor Refresher program.
Yes.
And then there was a event which we were having, celebrating one of the important events in Heartfulness Way, birth anniversary of Babuji, right? In between, I had some work which came up by some of my clients who needed support. This time, usually I used to struggle whenever that used to happen in my earlier
whether
avatar.
You should go back or
you
should...
or here, or even if I have to attend to work, I would say that,
It's
why?
a very common conflict people
Right.
feel, that
Right.
what you've committed to this event here.
Yes.
But then there's work, and what takes priority now?
Yes. And how, I used to feel conflicted earlier that if I am attending to work, then I am in a way not doing full justice to this place. Like Babuji used to say that you rather be outside and think of this place rather than being here and think outside. So those things used to create some conflict because I was trying to understand those things with my mind, not with the heart. Here, I did support my clients in a very timely fashion. While attending all the meditation sessions here, and at this time, during this time, that work was also like divine work happening. It was karma to be done, right? So there was no difference as such between spiritual life and material life. I kind of understood the integration part that we often talk about. I kind of experienced this time
That's so interesting, because very often one would feel that, okay, let me just stick to the meditation. It's a meditative mood. I will not do the work. I will, just be in my meditative mood and do a reading or something like that. But it's interesting that you managed to do the work and actually got a feeling that it wasn't taking you out. Because very often we have this feeling that there are two different worlds and you are either in this world or in that world.
Yes.
But I think that either or seems to have vanished for you in this trip.
Yes. And in a way, I felt that I would have been doing something not correct had I not attended to my work, because I had a responsibility to my clients.
So your heart was giving you that signal.
Yeah. I couldn't leave them, abandon them and say that, hey, I am meditating in this place, so your urgency doesn't matter to me. Your issues are not important to me. I was not doing this as work to be done. I was doing this as a duty to be discharged.
Wow.
Right? And I was feeling that, yes, this is my duty towards my clients, and that needs to be discharged. I need to be there. If they have trusted me as their a lawyer, right, to advise them on something which is critical for them, they need to close an agreement and they need an advice right now. It can't wait till next week or afterwards.
So true.
I need to be available. And it all flowed in. Like, I spent few hours in the evening and I was up at 4, my meditation, satsang, and everything flowed and it just blended well.
It's interesting because Daji also often quotes that from the Gita, no? Yoga karmashu kaushalam.
Yes.
I don't know if I'm saying it right also, but he quotes that, and we often think that they're just words. But here is a opportunity for us to see it in action. You experienced it firsthand.
Right.
Very interesting. Very interesting. So, brother, I'd like to ask you, you mentioned about your job being a lawyer. Tell us a little bit more about your work. What is it exactly that you do?
So currently I have very recently, like 6-7 months back or so, started my own legal practice called Sage Counsel.
Oh, nice. I love the name.
Yeah. So, there is a purpose, because I want to come out as a lawyer where it is indeed client-centric, right? In real terms, not just saying it, but I want to. I chose a name which kind of represents it, and in fact, Rudy Bhai, it came during one of my meditations.
Wow!
That Sage Counsel and its logo, etc., all appeared in one of my meditative moments, I would say. So my logo is yin and yang, balancing.
Oh, wow!
Balancing, and Sage Counsel represents coming from a space of trust and wisdom. Because many of times I've seen lawyers get too entangled with the letter of the law and legal issues, but not take the entire picture of the client, that what they really need. What is the solution that they need, right? And so that's one primary work that I do. I'm a corporate lawyer, which means that my specialization is to serve corporates, businesses, any kind of business-related legal issue or advisory, transactions like mergers and acquisitions, like any kind of business commercial contract, raising of investments or making investments. There is a lot of paperwork and structuring which is involved in all these, and business contracts like, employment issues and so on and so forth, general business-related stuff.
So really heavy-duty stuff.
In a way. And
lots of paperwork, lots of research, lots of...
It is detail-oriented, but it also needs a knack to understand business needs.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah? And I find my meditation practice really helping me there, where I can listen.
Absolutely.
So this is one part that I'm doing.
Oh, there's more stuff.
There is more. Along with that, I am developing a mediation practice, which is to resolve conflicts outside of court,
This is
where
a new word. I've heard arbitration. What is mediation?
yes, I'll explain that. Thanks for asking that. See, arbitration is where you choose a judge. In a courtroom litigation, judges are chosen by the state, right? They are appointed by the state.
Correct.
And you submit your dispute to them. They will, after analyzing all the facts and law, which is applicable to the facts, they will declare one party to be the winner and other to be loser. Right? Both cannot be winners. One has to win, the other has to lose.
True.
It's an adversarial system.
Correct.
Right? So typically both parties will be fighting with each other in that sense in a courtroom. They will be arguing why I am right, they are wrong. So this consciousness of right and wrong exists in adversarial style of dispute resolution. One version of this is arbitration. The only difference being that parties choose their judge. They can say, instead of state chosen judge, both parties mutually agree, we choose this person to be our arbitrator, and law recognizes whatever they pass is as good as a court's judgment, right? And the rules around appeal are more stringent so that there is efficacy in arbitration process.
Correct,
it doesn't
correct.
go through multiple levels of appeals. I'm just simplifying stuff
But in
here.
the arbitration process, there is not the win and lose factor. Right?
There is.
There is still the win.
Always,
Oh, okay.
always. Arbitrator is a judge who would again determine you win, the other loses. You are correct, the other person is wrong. See the facts, apply law to it, discharges same function
Oh, okay.
as a court. They may have separate procedure for, there are procedural aspects that you file this is how you conduct proceedings. But substantively they are discharging same function, right? Which means a party which loses is not happy with the award.
Outcome,
There
yeah.
will always be one unhappy party in litigation or arbitration, right? And the unhappy party will try to challenge the decision.
Sure.
The losing party will try its might to challenge that decision, and there are laws under which they can do that. Mediation is something very different. Here, a mediator is just a facilitator. So there is a full party autonomy, which means parties choose a mediator they believe to be neutral. The mediator will facilitate the negotiations between parties in such a way both of them agree
Okay.
to their result. Right? So there is no win-lose. Both of them win.
So the mediator's goal is the agreement.
Mediator's role is the agreement or a settlement. Actually, I don't like the word settlement. Mediator's role is to enhance the relationship of the parties from
Wow.
what it is. They came disputing, they go hugging back.
That's beautiful.
Right?
That's beautiful.
And what mediator, really a seasoned mediator would do is to facilitate negotiations between the party in a very collaborative way, right? In a win-win way. A mediator will go beyond the point of conflict. You may be conflicting at surface, like an iceberg. At a surface, there is 10% which is visible. But 90% is submerged under the sea, which is area of interests,
Yes.
right? Area of needs, if I may say. Mediator helps the parties to explore those and bring commonality of the interest.
That is so interesting. And that is so refreshing, actually, because there is a common perception of lawyers being only interested in the dispute carrying on.
Yes, yes.
For the lawyer, it's more beneficial if the dispute
Yes.
carries on. But for the mediator, it's a totally different goal.
Yes. And I am a trained mediator. So along with being a corporate lawyer, I am now a mediator, right? And this is, so my meditation again guided me to choose this area, which I find synchronizes with my inner self, right? Where we want to see people making peace with each other. So mediators are often called peacemakers.
Absolutely. That's
Yeah.
so interesting.
You are a professional mediator, which means people are paying your fee as a mediator, right? Then your goal is to get the people to agree. Yeah? You want people to be hugging each other and agree.
So
And
your
that's your
basic
goal.
is that
That's what you are being
agreement,
paid
yeah.
for.
Yeah.
So that builds your reputation then, that you can get people together.
Wow.
And in that process, of course, you have to be emotionally balanced yourself, but also know how to deal with charged emotions of people.
Yeah, because there must be so many emotions involved.
Yes,
in
always. If they
disputes.
are in dispute, they are involved. And I really believe that meditation, especially heartfulness meditation, can do wonders to mediation process, because like for a mediator, let's say, they need to be balanced and neutral, which heartfulness meditation does. When you're dealing with so many emotions, it can have an impact on you, right?
100%, yeah.
You can be too moved by the story of one person and lose your neutrality without knowing it, and create a bias in favor of a one person, which really spoils the whole process, because your neutrality,
Yes.
you're not supposed to judge right versus wrong.
But it's
Everyone
human
has a
nature,
story.
yeah.
Yeah. Heartfulness cleaning process and rejuvenation process helps you remove any impact which may have unknowingly come in during the day. So tomorrow you are as neutral as you were yesterday, right? And many a times mediators carry guilt because they are doing this pious work. They really want people to come together. They sometimes reflect back and say, hey, I missed intervening at that point and parties couldn't settle. Or I spoke too much. I shouldn't have said that. That kind of created a mistrust between the parties, right? The bedtime meditation that heartfulness offers, I feel, where you reflect back, scan through the day, and see where I could have improved myself. Just submit it to your inner self and say, hey, forgive me, and I want to really change that tomorrow. Helps you come over the guilt, but refine yourself as a mediator, and this journey is endless then, right?
That's amazing. So has this role always been around in the legal circles of India, or is it something new that's coming up?
So it is gaining traction now. It has been around for some time. Mediation, if you see, has been part of Indian culture for a very long time.
I now that you mention it, Krishna intervening, trying to intervene in
Trying
the
to.
Mahabharata, going to the Kauravas, it's
Yes.
part of our epic,
Yes. He did perhaps because he also wanted some destruction to happen, as we all know.
Sure.
But if I was a mediator instead of him, I would have not bruised the ego of Duryodhan, right? By telling him that he's on the wrong side.
Yeah.
I would have tried to understand need of Duryodhan, right?
Yes.
That, okay, you see this as fair, whatever you are asking for, right? You want some security, that they should not come and attack you if they get five villages, right? You're maybe scared that once they get independence, they can again attack you, right?
Yeah,
so maybe we can have a settlement where they'll never do that.
So no Mahabharat. But,
So no Mahabharat.
but
But
it's
maybe
lucky.
that was needed.
It's lucky for us that you weren't around there. Otherwise, we wouldn't have had this beautiful epic and the Gita. Everything would have been fine. Nobody would have known this story.
That's right. That's right. But yes, he was trying to mediate when he entered Hastinapur and
Yes.
try to make peace.
He asked
out
for
of it.
5 villages, I think.
That was one.
Yeah.
He was being creative, and he had a settlement offer
Yeah.
made, right? He asked for 5 villages instead of the full thing.
Yeah, that's
Right?
amazing. And also in villages, while growing up, I've always heard that whenever there's a dispute, they say panch bethalo.
That's
panch.
right. That's right.
That is part of the tradition.
See, if it is done well, if parties are submitting to the decision of the punch, whatever they decide it's more like arbitration than mediation.
Because they are still deciding.
They're still deciding.
Yeah.
Party autonomy is not there. In mediation, there is full party autonomy.
Wow.
A party can walk out of the mediation process. They can not agree to a settlement. They'll agree to a settlement only to extent they want to agree. And therefore, stickiness of that agreement is much higher.
Absolutely.
The probability of that being challenged are very less. So it really, really reduces the load from the court system, right? In a very big way. Why would you challenge something you willingly agree to? You're happy with that.
True.
You are happy with that whole thing, right? See, I'll give you a small example of to understand simply what mediation may mean. Let's say there is a slice of pizza. You and I both want that slice, and we are fighting over it, right? Now, one very crude way of mediation may be, okay, split it into half. Okay, you are bigger than me in size, so you get 2/3 and I get 1/3. Again, we are in the realm of justice, realm of right, wrong, and something
Correct.
a mediator may ask, why do you want to eat pizza?
When did you have your last meal?
Yeah, or no, not even that, because that will again be doing justice.
Oh, yeah. True.
Right?
True.
He may ask, Rudy, why do you want to have pizza? You may say, I love pizza. I have not had it in ages. I really want to have it. They may ask, Akshay, why do you want to have pizza? I'll say, I'm starving. I need food. Right? And this is on the table. And then mediator may say, if there is some other food available, Akshay, would that be okay for you? I said, actually, I like burger better. Right? And you may say, you know what? I have burger in my bag.
Wow.
Would you like to have that? I was not eating because I'm done. I just had burger yesterday as well, and today I got it somewhere. Both our needs are met. Another example which is often given in mediation trainings is that there is an orange and two sisters are fighting over who gets the orange, right? And people are asked, how would you solve this? And usual answers come that we cut it into half and this and that. A mediator mom with a mediation mindset asked, why do you need orange? Right? One sister said, I need to eat orange. The other sister said, I need the rind because I'm a baker. I want to use the zest on the cake. It gives wonderful flavor. She said, okay, you take this and you take the pulp, and
Both are happy.
Both are happy. Both are hugging each other now. Otherwise, we can go through appeals and start fighting who gets the orange. Did you buy first? Was it your money? Was it her money? We're not getting into all that.
This is so interesting. That is so hopeful actually for the future, because the legal systems everywhere, and especially in our country, are so overburdened.
Right.
And there's so much nitpicking and that going on.
Right.
So was this always an interest, Akshay bhai, this mediation, or were you purely practicing law earlier?
I was purely practicing law earlier, and I think COVID gave us a lot of time to reflect. And I saw that what is it that my heart now resonates more with? So mediation came up, and then executive coaching came up. So during COVID period, I got trained in both mediation and executive coaching, which is again a very spiritual process of asking questions where the coachee himself or herself comes up with the answers. You evoke awareness by just asking the question.
So asking the right questions.
Asking the right questions. And in my coaching experience, usually, I don't know where the questions come from. It's just in the moment from the heart. They come and you do. But before that, I have professionally been a hardcore, as they call, corporate lawyer.
Oh, wow.
So I started my journey in 2004, passed out from National Law Institute University, which is one of the top law schools of the country in Bhopal. And then I went to Columbia University, New York, did my Masters of Law on some scholar aid, etc.
Wow.
And then worked, first I worked in India with a firm called JSA, J. Sagar Associates, which is one of the top leading law firms in the country. And then I also, after LLM, worked in New York with a firm called Davis Polk and Wardwell, which is a white shoe. They have classification of white shoe firm, so it's reputed there in US. I became partner of JSA. I came back to India, became partner of JSA in 2013. And then I went in-house in 2016 to be Associate General Counsel of Indigo Airlines.
Wow.
So I was holding some senior position,
Wow.
heading quite a bit of verticals there as a in-house lawyer. Like in-house and external lawyer has a difference. I think
Sure.
audience
Yeah,
may
yeah.
understand, but
Yes.
one is externally you're advising, and then when you're part of as an employee of not employee, but you're part of the company,
Exactly.
and from within you are advising the board and a CEO and so on and so forth. And then I again was partner with other big law firms like Luthra and Saraf and Partners.
So that's amazing wealth of experience that
Yes,
you have. And
yes,
it's
and
quite spectacular.
yeah. So, but my role as a lawyer has been largely the same: M&A, mergers, acquisitions,
And always corporate law. It's always
corporate law.
Yes, yeah.
Is what I have been practicing.
So, do you remember a time when you decided to take up law? What was the motivation to study law?
Yeah, I love it. It seems like I'm being interviewed by an opportunity, because this is a question which comes often, like, why law?
Yeah.
2-3 reasons. Yeah. One, there were some matters in the family where we needed legal help, right?
Okay.
And one of the matters was where my mother met with an accident when I was in standard 10th. And they were, as in US, they're called ambulance chasers, right? So lawyers came and we'll file you should claim compensation and this and that. So when I saw that process, I didn't feel comfortable with the way things were being conducted. And
They were like opportunists, basically.
yes, and not going to the depth of the issue, I gathered interest in law, right? I studied what could be the arguments, what are the facts of this case. Okay, the truck this car came from here, or this thing
So it was a
came up
third
from
party
here.
who had was involved in the accident. It was just somebody you didn't know.
Somebody we didn't know.
Yeah.
Of course, yeah.
Okay.
And there was insurance, this and then there was a mediation kind of a thing there as well,
Wow.
where things happened. And then my father had certain issues, and our family was under stress. So I was
Reading up on the
reading up, thinking.
Hmm.
So there was a motivation, a purpose to serve society through the instrument of law.
Wow.
That was one motivation. And I grew up seeing a movie. At that time, it was one of my favorite movies called Meri Jung.
Meri Jung.
Yeah,
That's Anil
it has
Kapoor.
Anil Kapoor in it, and there's a famous song.
Javed Jaffrey and Anil Kapoor.
Javed Jaffrey is on the negative.
Yeah.
He's a villain,
Yeah.
and
I don't remember the movie.
so
I
it's
saw it
it's
ages
a
ago, but-
so the sum and substance of a movie is that an underdog child who saw injustice for his family resolves to become a lawyer, and then he fights against one of the leading lawyers of the city,
Wow.
who was involved in injustice to his family. And the underdog became such a good lawyer that he defeated him ultimately. That's the climax of the movie.
Wow.
Right? So I used to be inspired by Anil Kapoor's character.
Did you ever have the opportunity to meet Anil Kapoor and tell him?
Never. But yeah, I used to sing that song, Ek Zindagi Jang Hai, and all of that,
Yes.
even in my law school. That was one. Secondly, I realized I'm a creative guy. I used to write jingles.
Oh, wow.
And I used to write poems, yeah. In standard 10th or 11th, I was also on Doordarshan for
Arre, wow.
reciting one of the self-composed poems and all. So I used to write jingles, copywriting, like for advertising, right? So somehow, although I have been generally confused person, but somehow I got clarity of what I want to do in 11th. A lot of students are confused.
Yes.
But I had 1, 2, 3 which was settled, right? So my one was advertising.
Mm-hmm.
Second was law.
Okay.
Because I saw law as a very creative thing. You're creative with your arguments. You're creative with how you see things, right? You can give different perspective to the same facts, right? You can see things in a different way.
Absolutely.
So I saw that as a creative process. And third was hotel management. Advertising, there was no professional course which you could get into after 12th. You had to do graduation and then figure out. So my parents said, we are middle class family. We don't have time for too much uncertainty, right? And those were the days when national law schools were just coming up. So as they say, it's destiny. It's a story how I got into law. You want it or not?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. So my mother was, mothers are loving towards the children.
Absolutely.
And I grew up in IIT. So you can imagine the pressure of becoming an engineer.
Okay, so
Campus.
Your parents were in the faculty?
My father was an engineer. He was assistant executive engineer in IIT. So I grew up on IIT campus.
Okay.
But of course, all his friends were professors. And
you have these academics coming to the house and
all the time.
So the pressure to follow that.
Pressure to be an engineer was immense. And I didn't like science that much, right? I didn't like science that much, to be honest. In fact, I did have physics in 11th and 12th. And they were numericals, where a stone would come and hit a person from the top of a cliff. And they used to ask, what's the velocity, what's the force? They would hide something and ask you to solve it. My question used to be, take the man to hospital. Why are you asking me all this? And if they were atoms, I wanted to see, how does the atom spin? Show me, how does benzene looks? I can't mug it up that it's a hexagon and covalent bond, ionic bonds and stuff. I wanted to touch and feel. I saw that law gives me opportunity to touch and feel. What I'll be studying is Supreme Court judgments, High Court judgments, where facts are real, have happened in someone's life.
Absolutely.
Right? That's my study material. It's not something abstract that solve something, electrons are behaving like this. Unless I see electrons, I don't believe it. Right? So that's how law. So my mother saw this interest in me. She says, hey, there is an advertisement for National Law Institute, University, Bhopal. I said, Mom, do you know if it's a good institute? Yeah, it's a very prestigious. She had no idea. Very, very reputed. You must apply for it. So I applied for it, right? And the day on which there was this entrance exam was the same day where there was engineering entrance exam of Delhi University, right?
Oh, okay.
Right? DCE, we used to call Delhi College of Engineering. So my father was, there is no way you are missing that exam for this exam, because Professor Deshpande says your child is bright. Even if he doesn't crack IIT, he'll crack DC. Wow. I said, Dad, if I pass my maths, physics and chemistry in board exams, I should be lucky. so I don't think I'm close to DC. I have not prepared for engineering entrance. Like, I dropped it. I went to some tutorial. I won't name it because it's going to be broadcasted.
Sure.
But they were putting so much pressure, and I'm so glad now Kanha has a Kanha coaching center.
Yeah, because we've all heard horror stories about
because there was so much pressure.
Yeah.
I told my father that I might take my life in a jest. I never meant it.
Yeah.
He told that to the professor and embarrassed me in front of whole class. And he said, if you don't become engineer, the other profession you can take up is washing utensils. I want to tell him that I am not doing that bad in life, not being an engineer. And by the way, that gentleman was not an engineer. He was a PhD in physics, but not an engineer. So any which ways. My dad just put his foot down. Luckily, law entrance was in the evening.
So you gave both?
Yes.
That must have been a crazy day.
Yes. and who came to rescue was my brother-in-law, who was newly married to my sister.
Okay.
Right? My father said, I am not going to ferry you from South Delhi to North Delhi. I can't do all that.
So it's Jijaji to the rescue.
Jijaji to the rescue. They said, we'll take care. You can drop him to engineering and we will pick him up.
Oh, how sweet.
And he had just bought a car and he was very excited in those days, and he was excited to ferry around. And he said, I'll take him to the campus, the North Campus, as in Delhi area, right? There was an exam. So I gave the exam and I didn't clear in the first list. And And you may call power of manifestation of heartfelt prayer or whatever. I remember I was on a scooter behind someone who was ferrying me around different colleges in uh, Delhi University. You had to apply individually at that time. There was no central application process. And I just prayed on the scooter in the scorching heat with no water that, God, why are you making me do all this? Just get me into NLIU Bhopal, right? I won't have to go through all this process. And in the 4th waiting list, my name came in.
Wow.
Right? So I think I messed up that entrance exam. But, and then the story doesn't end here. My father would still not send me.
Okay,
Why?
he still was hoping you somehow would
He
become
said,
an
do
engineer.
economics honors in Dayal Singh College and prepare for engineering entrance for next year. Just take admission.
He was convinced that...
He was convinced this is to be done.
Huh.
And he called some lawyer who called himself to be Supreme Court lawyer. But I don't think he ever argued in Supreme Court. He used to write applications and stuff. And he said, Nagpal, listen, इसके पास चाय पीने के पैसे नहीं होंगे लॉयर बन गया तो राइट और अगर गलती से सिगरेट पीने की आदत लगे तो बीड़ी पिएगा ओके सो माय फादर वाज स्कैर्ड आई हर्ड दिस एंड आई अंडरस्टूड दैट NLIU Bhopal is on lines of National Law School Bangalore, which had some reputation by that time. So I told him, Papa, please talk to, there used to be a Professor Ramegoda who was chairman of AICTE. And he had he had visited our house, IIT, and so on and so forth. Known to the family. And I had heard him talk about National Law School Bangalore and how students do so well after passing out. And I said, please ask him once. If he says no, I promise I won't go. Right? But if he says yes, you have to let me try this. Right? You trust him as much, isn't it? So he said, okay. So he said, Nagpal, what you are talking of are Sunday wakils who go to classroom only on Sundays. This is a very specialist institute. It seems to be what you are telling me on the lines of National Law School Bangalore. Their students are doing very well, earning very well, right? You should let your child go there.
Wow.
Okay. And then my father had a heart issue. So he said, I can't go with you to Bhopal. So again, my Jijaji came to rescue. He said, go. But my father had put loops. He test by fire, as they say, right?
He made it difficult for you.
He had his own there is a hurdle race, no?
Yeah. I guess he wanted to see that, did you really want it?
I really not just want it, he wanted to be sure that I'm taking a right path. He was coming with very pure intentions.
Of course.
He wanted, see, his point of view was very simple. He said, Akshay, they call me Akshu, right? He said, Akshu, listen, we are all family of engineers. Your elder brother is an engineer, right? He's on the track. I am an engineer. I know so many professors of engineering. We can help you out in this profession if you need our help. We don't know L of law. You will be on your own completely. And we don't understand this profession to be able to guide you what to do, how to do, whether to do, etc., etc. So he wanted to be really sure.
Yeah, you were stepping out of the comfort zone.
Yes, actually. Yes. So he then asked us, both of us, he instructed my Jijaji, take him from the train station in Bhopal straight to Barkatullah University. And there he had his friend, Professor Soda, who was earlier an IIT professor, and at that time he was Vice Chancellor of Barkatullah University. Go there, seek straight from the station. Seek his advice, how good or bad is this college, National Law Institute,
so
University.
Even after you've reached Bhopal, there is still evaluation going on.
Yes. Go there. If he says yes, then you go to that university for admission. Otherwise, take the train back and come back. Okay? Wow. Those were clear instructions that my Jijaji was given.
So on the train to Bhopal, you did not know whether you were going for one day?
I didn't know.
Or you were going
I was going for 5 years. Yeah? I didn't know. So we went, and he, so God willing, Professor Soda, he said, And I made him talk to my father on the phone. He said, Nagpal, बरकतुल्ला में भी 5 साल का कोर्स है, बट यहाँ पे लॉ भी पढ़ाते हैं, वहाँ पे लॉ ही पढ़ाते हैं. That's a separate university under a state statute which is enacted just to teach law. And it's on lines of something very different and unique coming up in our country. Go for it. That's the place.
Wow.
So that's how we went. My Jijaji had some other ideals. So he saw that there are buffaloes all around. Our campus was in the midst of nowhere.
It was being made as
It was being
freshly.
Yeah, there was some agriculture university leased. We were second batch, right?
Acha, acha, acha.
So he saw there are no distractions. He said this is the perfect place for any student. And then we met. There used to be Justice Ajit Barihok back in the day. And we had read he passed some judgments in the matter of Narasimha Rao. So he was in news.
Mm-hmm.
So we met his son, now my friend Karan Barihok. And we met him. And he praised the university quite a bit as we met him, to my Jijaji, that yes, this is a great place and so on and so forth. And my Jijaji was sold, and then he told my father from landline or whatever that I like this place. I'm getting him admitted. And I stayed with my bags, and he went back alone. And that's how I entered law.
And this was the first time you were away from your family? Yeah?
Yes, yes.
So, was that difficult to adjust to?
It was not that easy, but I would say not that difficult, because this time, Rudy Bhai, I had a purpose. I had to also prove myself and to my parents that I have taken the right choice. I worked really hard as a law student. I was very focused that I need to... One, that was interesting for me. But I was also, like what Daji says, if there is an interest, you naturally work hard without realizing you're working hard. So something similar happened to me. But I also had a purpose that I need to... So even though I joined, because I have fourth waiting list, no? So I joined in the middle of the trimester, but I scored highest in the exam. So the entire batch was quite confused. First exam we are having in economics, he's scoring 29 out of 30. Who is this guy, right? So that kind of a thing, I think, kept me going, because now I was like, hey, you are on your own, outside the comfort zone. Your dad said he can't help you, and you had to make it happen. So yeah, life's been...
Wow, that's amazing. And when did the family finally come around? I mean, after those 5 years in law school, when did your family feel कि हाँ ये ठीक राह पे है, he's become a lawyer? When did they feel secure?
I think it settled in after a year or two. Then my father tried to help me as much as he could to get an internship, the first internship. He knew from someone, the first advocate. I still respect him a lot. I learned a lot with him, Mr. Ashok Agarwal. He practices in Supreme Court. And then I think paths were just made. He referred me to a firm called KNS Partners because one of his juniors was an associate there. From there, their corporate affiliate, JSA, where I ended up. Finally, I somehow got an internship and perseverance played a role. My internship got rejected. So there is a shout out to all the students, law students listening to this podcast. Don't feel rejected, even if your first or second internship application doesn't happen. Just keep at it. You just need one yes. It will happen, right? And that will be the right kind of a yes for you, right? So, and once I entered that internship, I kind of worked quite hard. And it converted into a pre-placement offer. And I think at that time, my parents settled down that, okay, he'll get somewhere. And once you get a job, then of course, they were settled that he's making good salary from those days standards and as compared to engineers, etc. And okay, you've taken it, go for it.
And then when you went to Columbia, that must have been one of the most prestigious universities in the world. That must have been so heartening for your family. They must have been so proud. Yes, they were. But I would say Columbia, for me personally, was a very overwhelming experience. It was quite an overwhelming experience because, you go to a new country. Absolutely.
You have too many expectations sometimes out of yourself, right? One, you need to enjoy New York City. So I was not practicing heartfulness till Columbia, right? Uh, you have to enjoy life,
Absolutely. And New York, you've seen in popular culture, in movies and everything. This is the place to
right?
be. You have to.
Everyone is feeding you a social life.
Yeah.
Make friends with different people from coming from the country. It's a melting pot for all the cultures. Along with that, you had to get your grades very high, because I had taken a student loan, which my brother was guaranteeing for me, being a resident of US at that time. So I was under this pressure. So there was part financial aid that I got. So it was not as much student loan as I would have to take, but still there was a substantial student loan. So I was like, I need the job in New York. And it was 2007, 2008 we are talking of, the economic meltdown happening left, right, center. And then coursework, pressure to get grades because that's relevant for you to get a job, and so on and so forth. All of that was quite overwhelming. And that was again an important milestone in my spiritual journey. Now that I look back, I think the whole purpose for me to go to Columbia was to be spiritually oriented.
Really?
Yes.
How did that come about?
So, okay, I'll cover parts before Columbia, maybe later in the conversation.
Yes.
How all of that, how I was perhaps had some seed of spirituality.
No, maybe we can start with
so,
that.
So from childhood or something.
We can start with the childhood.
See, if I reflect back, I see even as a child, I think I had a very inquisitive mind. Who would not take things as told, right? Who would rely more on his own observations rather than what is being told. Like what we see now, rely more on our experience rather than being told God exists. Believe only if once you experience that divinity within yourself.
Yeah.
So I remember in my KG interview in DPS, I was asked what's the color of sky. I was 4 or 5 years? And I didn't know because I had not roted that it's blue.
Yeah.
Right? They say, okay, why don't you look outside and tell us? Actually, I said, I now remember, I said, color of sky is not same. I said, in the day it's yellow and in night it's black. Okay.
Wow.
There is no one color of sky.
Absolutely.
That's what I told.
Huh.
They said, no, please see outside. I was confused. I said, no, I still stick by my answer. There is no one color of sky.
It's orange at sunset. It's blue in the day.
And I had it was noon when this interview was happening.
Oh, okay.
So sun was shining.
Bright. It was a glare.
I could only see yellow. Right? So I said, see, it's yellow outside. That's what I'm saying. During the day, it's yellow. And during the night, it's black. And I, my father and parents asked that, what did they ask in the interview? What did you answer? I said, this is what I answered. And they were like, okay, this boy has lost his chance of studying in very, very good schools of Delhi public school. But somehow I got an admission. So I assume that teachers saw that thing. And then I remember that sometimes as a child, I would go into what I call tapasya mode.
Oh.
So during that mode, I'll eat what I need to eat.
Oh.
Like
So.
one roti, dal, salad. I will speak less.
Wow.
I'll remain silent and speak only as required. Okay. I don't recall really why would I go into tapasya mode, but something in family, if it happens, I used to get these phases.
Wow.
I would get into what I used to
how
call.
old were you?
I would be in second standard or third standard or something
so
like that.
6, 7.
Yes, something like that.
Wow.
And and then until my family would get concerned with this and say, hey, why are you getting into this? Get out of. And they would like me to get into the fun mode. My tapasya mode would get broken in that sense. But sometimes 1 or 2 or 3 days, I would just get into that mode. And I think even as a teenager, I would not very typically fit in with the crowd, as they say. I would rather have deep conversations, deep friendships, right? Or be a thinker in the classroom, question things, right?
Not go with the flow, go
Not,
with the crowd.
yeah, I would just not go with the flow. And in my initial days of Abhyas, I think Daji used to also tease me. You ask too many questions, you see. So I used to be very inquisitive, right? And even in law school, my hand would almost be always up, right? And I would ask my faculty that why so? Why did we have laws? Why not like this? Why like this? And so on and so forth, right? In law school, there was a professor called Professor Mukesh Srivastav. He used to teach what was technically English, but he never taught us English. He was teaching us philosophy, right? And he was teach us postmodernism, right? Frank Kafka,
Wow.
Hegel, and Assis Nandi, the works. He will talk about conditioning and deconditioning, right? He would give us essays to analyze, which would be around biases of, let's say, judges, right? Implicit biases of judges. Is a judgment neutral? How our mind gets conditioned. You know, the whole postmodernism,
Yes.
Sartre, and so on and so forth. So that gave me a peep. That I would say, I really am indebted to Professor Mukesh Srivastav. I told him so as well. But there, I think this seed of spirituality somewhere to question, because ultimately spirituality is about deconditioning ourselves, isn't it? Right?
So true.
So this concept that we are conditioned and we need to be deconditioned got introduced to me. So we were part of a small group of students who would go to his apartment and have discussions outside campus. It was not coursework. We would do it out of our interest, right? Take an auto or a tempo or something and go and do all that. So that was the first seed, I would say. And there, one of my friends, Susmit Pushkar, still my batchmate and friend now, always friend throughout. He used to read a book called Jiddu Krishnamurti. You know, he used to read his works. And we used to, again, as law students, tease him, hey, what kind of things you study, yeah? But I heard that name in law school, okay? And then as I graduated, I was a very, very hectic lifestyle as a corporate lawyer, initial days, midnights and stuff. But at the same time, very rewarding because I was very successful in the regular sense of the word, right? I started questioning the purpose and so on and so forth. On one trip of Gujarat with my parents, I was reading a book called Zahir by Paulo Coelho. I think during that trip of Gujarat, Somnath, Dwarkadhish, Gir forests, etc., I had some kind of, I don't know, awakening, but some kind of shift happened. I started questioning, and that book was helping me question the societal rules, just following the rut. Again, it was about conditioning, deconditioning, and so on and so forth, right? So I was refreshing all that I had studied in law school, and my consciousness was now trying to find something more beyond the regular earn money, eat good, consume as much as possible, and that's the source of happiness kind of thing, right? Then Columbia happened. Then overwhelming happened. Then procrastination happened. And what I would do during procrastination is I started reading Jiddu Krishnamurti. Okay?
This is while you are at Columbia?
While I'm at Columbia.
Instead of doing an assignment, you
I would read Jiddu Krishnamurti. I would scramble through assignments. But I scored well. I grade somehow I managed. Another important part there was that I was raised as a vegetarian. So vegetarian food was very important for us, right? I never
Absolutely.
developed taste for so I was non-vegetarian food. Now I look back, I thank my parents for raising me a vegetarian. I never had to give up anything,
Yeah.
right? So to say, ISKCON monks used to come to the campus, and to get vegetarian delicious food, I used to sit through Bhagavad Gita sessions,
Oh,
right?
wow.
So that was the motivation. Free food, free vegetarian, nicely cooked food, right?
Yeah.
But they had a condition attached. Nothing is for free. You have to first hear a Bhagavad Gita session. We used to analyze. I used to question the monk. I still am a Facebook friend, Pandit Gadadhar Das. I used to question a lot. Why monkhood? Why can't we actually be spiritual while being in this life? And he used to explain why he has chosen. And by the way, he has left his monkhood, and now
Oh, wow.
he has become Grasta after 15 years of being a monk. And he just had one or two babies. And
Wow. It's amazing where life takes us. Huh?
where life takes us, right? So that gave me another opening. Reading Bhagavad Gita, something scrubs off you,
Absolutely.
right? But Jiddu Krishnamurti had an influence, I would say. So as life had to happen, I was in a very good position at end of my LLM. I had Davis Polk and Wardwell's most coveted job in my hand, right? There were 2-3 months break when I was going back to India, right? And I was fully secure because I had advance and the whole paraphernalia. And I'm going back, I know where I'm joining, right? So I know my loan will be taken care of. I was in a happy space. Now, during that space, people would generally maybe go to Goa to party, right?
Absolutely.
But I was always a crazy fellow. So I was Googling, and I read on Google somewhere, practicalization of Jiddu Krishnamurti's teaching is Vipassana by S.N. Goenka. Okay? So I enrolled myself in a 10-day course.
Wow.
Right? And I said, this is the time I'll get opportunity of being... Till then, mobile phones had obviously come, 2007, 2008. To be without your mobiles, to be without your
it's
books.
very strict. The Vipassana camp
It's
is very, very strict.
very, very strict,
Yeah.
right? So I attended 10-day course. And again, I was one of those, students who would follow the rules. I'm a rule follower from childhood typically, right? So I would really remain silent. But by the end of it, I really enjoyed it. And when I walked out of the Vipassana camp, I thought, this is the only path, the true path to whatever you call nirvana, nibbana, as they used to say. There is no dogma, there is nothing. You keep observing your sensations, you keep observing your breath, and just being in equanimity, being a witness. This is what it is. And then I came back to New York, right? I used to do 1-day courses whenever I had an option of Vipassana and so on and so forth. But somehow I was not able to integrate it in my life. So the requirement of 1 hour morning, 1 hour evening with my New York corporate law life. Big law pays you well, but big law expects you to work very well.
Absolutely. So,
That was not happening too much.
Hmm.
This is my personal experience, a strictly personal experience. I used to find I was very sensitive to bodily sensations. When an anxiety or a stressful situation comes, I could feel sensations in my body, but not always be equanimous towards it. And I started reacting to those sensations, right? Rather than letting them go, which one is supposed to do. So somehow it was not fitting very well. Then I came back on vacation. I did a 3-day course. I was a little feverish. It didn't go too well, the Vipassana course. And I came back to India for good. There was my family required me at that point of time. I decided I had learned whatever I had to learn in New York. My loan payment is sorted.
And the opportunities in India were
Much more. 2008, we were actually growing quite a bit. We were an outlier to the world. And my law firm took me back with open arms, right? So before again joining, I was not getting, see how nature is now guiding you somewhere or not guiding you somewhere. I'm indebted to S.N. Goenka ji, I feel, because what I learned at Vipassana and what I did at Vipassana, maybe a lot of sanskaras got eradicated through the process of Vipassana, was necessary perhaps for my onward journey, is how I take it, right? So I have deep gratitude to that system and S.N. Goenka ji for leading me to where I am in that sense. But it was dark evening. I hadn't got into the course easily. It was already third or fourth day of the course. And they said, okay, you're an old student, you can come in. Dark evening, I go in middle of nowhere in Sonipat village. My sister comes along, right? And my father comes along. My sister is also finding it very strange. Why do you want to spend your holidays in a meditation camp, right? So she was already saying, hey, come back, dark, I'm getting scared. Why are you sitting here? They had a meditation camp going on, so gates were not opening. No one was listening. We were middle of nowhere. Dogs were barking. It was a scary atmosphere. Yeah. Finally, gates got opened. They showed us facility. Somehow, and as trivial as it may sound, the attached bathroom rooms were all taken up and common facilities room were available, right? Sure. As it may, something from within me said this time, this path for you now is not there, right?
You felt that?
I somehow had an inner voice. Now you need to move forward. So I came back. And my sister, you've taken a great decision. Came back. I came back and I said, but I still need something. So I tried few things. Again, no disrespect to them. I tried Art of Living. I did Happiness Program. Something did resonate with me. I was now seeking, right? At the same time, my parents were seeking a match for me, right? Sure. I was seeking and they were seeking a match for me. And that period of choosing a right partner was extremely, I would say, confusing, taxing on me, right? I was really torn apart. There were some relationship issues. I had come out of a relationship and now my parents wanted a match. So there were a lot of things going on. Our firm was going on an offsite to Sri Lanka.
Okay.
Right? On a retreat. My passport had just expired. So I couldn't go to Sri Lanka with them. Right? So I had full 3 days, no work to happen. The entire firm is going on an offsite. Clients have been told that we are on an offsite. So no work to happen. Somehow it came to me I should go to Auroville. So I went to Auroville for a solo trip. And it was my first solo trip in my life. Other than Vipassana meditation camp, but as a first time I was going solo. So I went there, I had a nice time, relaxing, different activities. Auroville.
Absolutely beautiful.
People are choosing their own path and everyone is pursuing spirituality in their own way.
Correct.
The only method of meditation I know by this time is Vipassana, right? So wherever I am asked to meditate, I'll do my Vipassana, right? In Matri Mandir or wherever it is, because I don't know anything else. There was a European lady who met me there. And I was talking about her, my issues, and she said, see, I have two paths. One is a what you say, past life regression, right? I can do past life regression. So you may resolve your issues which are unsolved from past life or something. It was financially a cheaper option, by the way. Mm-hmm. The second is something called Reconnection LLC. There is a US company, I'm certified. At that time, around 2010-11, she was charging 10,000 rupees. I'll connect you to some broadband of universal energy, and then you will find shortest path to your real purpose of life. Okay? Would you like to go for that or this? Somehow I felt, again, my inner voice guided me, go for that reconnection rather than regression.
Even though it's more expensive.
Even though it's more expensive. She said, yeah, I'm very happy you chose that. There's a lot of muck which comes out in regression. Why focus on what we don't want?
Yeah.
Rather move forward and go there. So I had a 1 hour, 1 hour. I felt extremely relaxed after that session. I didn't know whether she was a fraud, whether she was real, whether she did anything.
It was just one session, huh?
Just one session.
1 hour session, 10K.
10K, right?
In that time.
In that time.
Wow.
You can imagine inflation and everything now, right? But I was earning well and I could have afforded and all of that. So I said, listen, something told me to take that punt. I said, what will happen? 10K, no? I would have gone to Sri Lanka, I would have spent it any which ways. Personal expenses also you do. So I said, go for it. Take this punt. Take that risk. I was very relaxed after the session. She told me 2 things. She said, now you will find shortest path, whatever it is,
Wow.
to your real goal. And when it presents itself to you, you have a very ta-ta-ta-ta-ta. She was a very dramatic lady. You do a lot of ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta. Your mind plays games with you. Don't listen to clutter of your mind. Listen to your heart. Those were her words. I left. I came back to Delhi. And in the turmoil that I was, I had actually gone to Auroville to really reflect which person to marry, whom to choose, and so on and so forth. That was the biggest problem.
वो list तैयार हो गई थी.
मतलब one of the candidates was my wife, and then, as I said, I was coming out of a relationship. There were a lot of issues, right? So in one evening of all this turmoil going on, and in Indian families sometimes we make Excel sheets. अच्छा Excel sheet बना लो, ये लड़की ये pro है, ये कौन है, right? So all of that was going on, the crazy stuff, right? No place of heart, but a lot of other things. I had a meltdown. I had a literal meltdown. I told my parents, let's go to ISKCON temple. We were living in Gurgaon. That was in east of Kailash.
East of Kailash, yes.
Let's go to ISKCON temple. I feel like going there. And they also realized he's having a meltdown. Let's go there. I just cried my heart out in front of Lord Krishna's idol there in that darbar. Right? I had a cry out. And I don't know from where it came. I don't know, Rudy Bhai, where it came from. I was not asking him for any guidance on whom to choose to marry. That was not even on my mind. The words which came out of my heart were, now this soul wants to meet you. It's enough. Please show me a path to come to you. Right? Now it's done with this earth and now it wants to merge in you. Please show me a path. That was one instance which happened. Then life guided me. I was a hotty-totty corporate lawyer, and and my wife at that time I found to be very simple, right? Which is what attracted me to her, right? But again, my mind was playing games, and I was also looking for this and that, and right. She was very sophisticated, but in a demeanor, her heart was very simple. Right? Which is what was attracting me towards her. But anyways, I landed up, she liked me and we both mutually liked each other. We went on few dates and our marriage was settled and decided for. And then we had our marriage. I would be one of the rare dulas who would have told the priest not to hurry up. Usually people request and sometimes bribe to hurry up.
You can request a 20-minute package.
Yeah. So I told, please explain each and every mantra to me.
Wow.
what you are saying,
Wow.
and do it in a way that it's a spiritual union and not just a normal
That's
marriage.
so beautiful.
Right?
Because otherwise one just goes through the motions,
Yes.
right?
I said, whatever it is,
Yeah.
you tell me all this, ये step मोक्ष का है, ये step अब ये फेरा उसका है, अब आप lead कर रहे हो वो, not just for the sake of it. My relatives are all irritated with me. I was like, listen, it's my marriage, my rules, right? So then we went for a vacation, what you usually call honeymoon, to Bali. It was a very nice, pleasurable, very nice, joyful vacation. We came back to Delhi. And I had few days left for my, work to start.
Before joining work. Okay.
So I had few days of leave left. And my spiritual anxiety just came to the surface in a very, very big way during that time. And I was like, now I'm married. What do I do? How do I balance? These were the words I was struggling with. How do I get balance in my life? And I thought Vipassana is the only way. I am not fit for Vipassana because I am not a disciplined person. I can't do morning, evening meditation. I told my wife, let me take a break, go to Pune. There used to be a gentleman, he's no more, called Partha Sarthi ji in Pune also. They used to teach Upanishads. And they had a schedule, 3-year course. They have a schedule 4:30 a.m. So you had no choice but to. So in 3 years, I'll be a disciplined fellow, right? I'll see.
So you're telling your newlywed wife this?
Yes, yes, yes.
Wow.
Yes. And I'll do this and do that. And my heart goes out to my wife. She was such a mature, patient person. She ignored that. She didn't panic, right? She said, okay, let's see, let's hear out. But then I said, okay, listen, load shedding happens in Gurgaon, Haryana during summers.
Yes,
I got married in May, so it was June, May that we are talking of. I said, I'm feeling damn hot here, right? Let's go for another vacation within India. Who stops us from going to another vacation? We are newly married couple, right? It's like a second honeymoon in succession, right? A continuing honeymoon, so to say. So, but this time I thought that let's go for a family vacation. I tried booking Nimrana property, river Nimrana by Ganges, glass house by Ganges, Rishikesh, all sold out. I don't know where, Rudy bhai, this city I had never heard of came again. I had heard somewhere, but I don't know how did I become conscious of this city called Ramgarh. Okay, and there was a Nimrana property.
Yes, writer's bungalow is there.
Writer's bungalow,
Yes.
Ramgarh. Only one room available, right? So family can't come. I said, Megha, let's go to Ramgarh. And now she tells me, like after we came back, you told me then, you will meet someone there which will change your life. Okay, so we went to Ramgarh.
So you had told your wife that?
Yes.
Oh, so you had this kind of intuition, I suppose.
Yes, that
Wow.
you will meet someone which will change your life.
Wow.
Right? So I went to Ramgarh and I was seeking. I was again asking the staff, koi baba aate hain yahan pe, koi ashram hai paas mein and all of that. But then they said, see, if you want to do something, go to Mukteshwar. You go in the morning, the sun rises and snow-clad mountains show up. It's beautiful sight. And there is a temple there. You go there and you will enjoy yourself. So he said, sounds good. Let's go. I said, Baba aate hain Mukteshwar. So they said कि हाँ कुछ कभी आ जाते हैं, आप देख लीजिए. मैंने कहा ठीक है. So we went there. I just sat down, did 108 Gayatri Mantra. And this time with intention and a prayerful heart. I was looking at the sky and I said, God, now it's enough. Show me the path.
This
and
is Mukteshwar. Huh?
Mukteshwar. So I completed my 108 round with these fingers. I didn't have mala, but with these fingers. But the intention was behind, now please show me the path. It's enough. I said, now it's really enough. You have to show me a path. I've been seeking something I've tried. It's not gelling well. Now show me. What do I do? How do I find this balance? Priest came, we did Abhishek, Puja, all of that. And I asked him, Bhai, moksha kaise milta hai? Thoda batao. And he said that Om Namah Shivaya ka past karo. But I could feel some vibrations with that priest as well. Right? I could feel some powerful vibrations. Any which ways. We spent time looking at the mountains, snow-clad, etc., etc. Then our driver asked. We went with a cab from Delhi. He said, where would you like to have breakfast? I said, let's have it here. He said, the town has not opened up, sir, yet. It's Mukteshwar. It opens up at 11 or so. I said, okay, let's go back to the hotel. He said, do you think your buffet will be ready by the time it will take 1 hour to reach? It will be over. I said, what's on your mind? So he said, I have a friend 15 kilometers down.
So your driver tells you that 15 minutes down.
15 kilometers down.
He has a friend.
There is a friend who makes nice breakfast. Achha, another thing happened before this. While having this Gayatri Mantra session, 2 intuitive thoughts came to me. One, leave egg. I don't know where it came from.
And you'd always had egg.
I enjoyed my omelets one day before in the hotel, right?
Yeah, at the hills, everybody
Hills,
has, right?
I enjoyed my omelet a day before. Leave egg. This thought just came during that session. And determination is the key to success in spiritual pursuit. Not giving up.
This thought was articulated.
This thought was articulated during Gayatri Mantra session. It popped up. Okay. So I went down. The guy was making good eggs, but I chose not to have them because I had this thought 1 hour ago, right? But I had some Maggie and saw snow-clad mountains, and we were ready to go. And the driver says, "Sir, ये चाय वाला बोल रहा है, नीचे कोई आश्रम है, आप जाओगे?" So हमने कहा, यार हम तो इसी मूड में हैं, चलो चलते हैं. My wife didn't feel like she wanted to go back, but she was supportive, so she said, yeah, let's go to the ashram. We went down 2.5 kilometers down, and we read board Shri Ramchandra Mission, Satkol, Himalayan Ashram. We give free medical aid and so on and so forth. I was trying to enter the gate, and the guard said, no, you cannot enter. Where is your ID card? And I was like, I don't have an ID card. I'm a seeker. हम जानना चाहते हैं आप यहाँ क्या योग सिखाते हो, राइट? नहीं अभी नहीं आ सकते प्रेसिडेंट साहब आए हुए हैं. ओके, एंड आई वाज लाइक, प्रेसिडेंट ऑफ इंडिया आए हैं? ही सेड नहीं आप आईडी कार्ड नहीं है, प्लीज आप जाइए. एंड आई वाज क्वाइट इरिटेटेड. आई वाज लाइक, व्हाट इज दिस? आई एम जस्ट कम, आई एम अ सीकर. ऑन माय ब्लैकबेरी आई वाज ट्राइंग टू फाइंड फोन नंबर of office of Satkol Ashram on Google. Okay. Car engines were on. We had an Indica. And a sister calls me from behind. Excuse me, brother. I said, yes. Why are you fighting with our guard? I said, I'm not fighting with your guard. I just want to come here. And I told her my story. Mukteshwar, Mandir, Chaiwala, and Seeker, Vipassana, all of that. And then she was like, you have not come by yourself, you have been called. And that was Chariji, who is the third master of Heartfulness tradition, 2011. Right? June 3rd.
Wow.
So that was his last visit to Satkol Ashram. He had come with bunch of 12th students who, there was the first batch out of a school that Heartfulness operates, Omega School in Chennai. And then as they have a history, they handed me over to Sadbir Bakshi, who used to be personal secretary of Chariji at that time. And he handed me over to another Abhyasi. And then this Abhyasi started telling me about transmission. And I could see people going gaga or guru. And in Vipassana, they generally tell, guru is, it's all by yourself. You have to, and I was attuned to that school of thought.
Yeah.
That, need not be guru crazy and so on and so forth. And my lawyer mind was doubting, what is transmission? How can, it changed, and so on and so forth. But then he said two things. One, transmission like some energy, universal energy. Second, it is shortest path to the goal. Sahaj Marg. And now I recalled what that lady in Auroville told me. Right? And her advice, listen to your heart and not your mind at that point.
Wow.
When your shortest path appears. See, I don't know whether what she did was real, unreal. But at least in the scheme of destiny, I had to hear her
Absolutely.
for me to decide at that critical point in my life. Otherwise, I could have missed it. Right? And then I was taken in front of Chariji Maharaj, and the short story is before you. He said, please come for lunch. It was Daji's house, where we all went for lunch with the students, and yeah. So they were a group of Abhyasis. We then changed our plans. We shifted out of Ramgarh Hotel. We booked a hotel near Satkol.
Wow.
We came in the early morning, right? Because there was a satsang. And so I attended satsang. After satsang, I don't know what happened during that meditation session. Some experience. Chariji just walked. I don't know why I said it to him. I still don't recall. But the words which came out of my mouth were, Master, would you accept me as your disciple? And he said yes. Right? And then his plans changed. He said we are going to Rudrapur. Now I had just booked the hotel and paid in Satkol. But now we had to go to Rudrapur. So I asked my wife. She was very supportive. I said, can we pack our bags and again be part of the travel group of Master and complete our 3 sessions, because we were being given sessions by different preceptors at that time. So then we went to Rudrapur, and I am again my gratitude to one of my brothers in Heartfulness, Sanjay Bhatia ji, who was also a Vipassana meditator, and because I had so many questions, he played a very nice trick. He said that I need a ride to Rudrapur. Is there a space in your car? While his wife was enjoying an Innova ride, he sat in our Indica, right? But his purpose was very noble. He wanted to clarify all my doubts and explain the system to me. So he spent good travel time that we got between Satkol and Rudrapur to understand what Sahaj Marg is.
That is incredible.
What the whole thing is. Then we took our sittings, and as they call, rest is history.
Unbelievable. That is such an unbelievable story, because it's like from where to where, from your second honeymoon. I mean, there's so many variables here that, for it to manifest that way.
Yes. So it was also surprising for people there that newlywed couple coming into an ashram, right? And on your honeymoon, and because it was in a way continued honeymoon, right?
Yes.
I had hardly a 2-3 day break in Delhi when all of this happened. So it was a continuing one, and they were also surprised. So Chariji used to remember me as honeymoon couple, actually, who wandered, and I would say found their way, not lost their way, but found their way in Sahaj Marg.
Wow. And I know it's been 1.5 hours since we've been chatting, but it's just flown by. I wanted to ask you, when did you feel that this is the path for you? After the initial meeting, of course, you didn't really, were you aware the moment you got your first sitting, or was it a gradual process?
It was a gradual process, I would say. It was a gradual process. I don't really remember a time that I would say, I got, this is it for me. But you know what? As a seeker, as a person on a spiritual path, even in heartfulness, many a times nature takes tests,
So true.
And it would plant some doubt in you.
Mm.
It would, and as our journey moves, spiritual yatra moves, there are
Points of doubt,
phases of discomfort that you feel in your
Absolutely.
system. Your peace that you used to feel goes away for right reasons, because another refined level of peace has to descend, right? But in that moment of transition is always difficult.
Yeah, you feel like bailing out.
You feel like bailing out. With me, luckily, this whole story of how I came into Sahaj Marg has been an anchor point.
Hmm.
At least used to be an anchor point. No more. Now I have other anchor points, but it used to be an anchor point in those initial days where I used to say, hey,
Am I?
all of that can't be coincidence. Right?
So true.
All of that can't be coincidence. It can't be such a coincidence, right? It was something planned for you, so just stick with it.
Yeah, I mean, it's
And-
incredible. All the way from you to that ISKCON temple to everything. It's just doesn't seem possible to be.
Yes, and then you know how it happens. You're going through a phase, and then you attend a satsang, and your condition changes, and you're back on the path. And
Exactly, which brings
You-
me. I mean, in the beginning, when you spoke about how this trip has revealed something to you.
yes,
So it is so amazing that even after many years, we go through periods of, say, difficulty, of maybe where we, our commitment is not, we feel it's lagging. And then one satsang happens or one trip happens and it's all gone. And something that a difficulty that you'd grappled with maybe for months or weeks, and suddenly it's
that's true. But though this, I feel, it's a path to infinity, and rightly so. Your evolution never stops, right? Your refinement keeps happening. Like my experience of spiritual integration this time, or refined focus on being center. I hope I carry it outside Kanha. But something or the other, we keep learning. I feel when I hear talks of masters, even after they have become masters, they are learning something new.
absolutely.
They, and sometimes that's why we find discrepancy between what masters may have said 2 years back with what they are saying now. And we question, hey, why are they giving
Contradiction,
conflicting
yeah.
statements? What we don't realize is they are also evolving towards infinity, right? They have all the right, and for our benefit, to evolve their thinking, to evolve their feelings, to define the way we do things, right?
Yeah,
As per the need of the hour, right?
absolutely.
And that's what spirituality is. Not be stuck with the past, but keep refining and moving forward.
Absolutely. In fact, Chariji used to say that you'd find contradictions within the same book, within the same chapter sometimes.
Right.
Of my book, you'll find a contradictory statement. So
Right.
it's very interesting. And do you ever find, Bhai, that your legal practice, your peers, is there a general acceptance of, say, a spiritual path? Because here it's not hard facts. You are dealing with hard facts most of the time.
Yeah.
Law is dealing with numbers and facts like that. But is it easy to explain to your peers? Do you find acceptance of a spiritual life also growing amongst your community of lawyers?
Yeah. So, that's a very, 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 very practical question that you ask. Initially, I feel sometimes it's difficult for people to understand that, right? And yes, sometimes legal field could come across as very aggressive. Again, the whole notion of win and lose. You're there, you're trained to doubt. I struggle with that training sometimes, right? Because you're trained to doubt, not trust. You need an evidence for something. You need a precedent for everything, a Supreme Court or a High Court decision to back up every argument, right? That's the training in some ways. So it does come in the way, like after Sahaj Marg, after 6 months or so, there was one evening I had such a strong craving for alcohol because I used to occasionally take it. I was never a drinker, but occasionally take. That evening was such a strong craving I had for alcohol, December 31st, 2011. I still remember that.
Oh, wow.
Right? New Year's Eve. Because the environment was such.
Yeah, everybody is going
But
out.
you know, I had again an inner voice
Hmm.
which said, if you resist this temptation today, it will never come back to you.
Hmm.
It was hard for me to resist that temptation that day, but I don't know how many lemonades I had that day, right? And how many mocktails I had that day. After that, Rudy Bhai, it just left me.
Wow.
I never felt like drinking ever again. So that inner voice was quite guiding in that sense. Something just snapped. That sanskara just went away. And I never had. So in legal professions, sometimes networking is also over alcohol and stuff. So sometimes as people question initially, but what I realize is over time, as they know you, they also start respecting you for that, right?
For sticking to
And yes, then my colleagues would very lovingly say, okay, we know you don't drink, भैया इनके लिए जरा orange
Ginger
juice
ale.
ले लो, mocktails ले लो, तुम क्या लोगे? We don't know what you would like. You please tell them what you would like, right? And so on. And they would accept, they would respect your demeanor, they would respect your way of being, I would say, right? Where they can see, you can see larger pictures, and I got a compliment which was very heartening for me actually from one of my mentors at JSA. He was senior to me. He's a very senior equity partner today at the firm. And once I founded Sage Counsel and I told him what I'm doing, corporate practice with this consciousness of being very client-centric, business advisory, plus mediation and coaching and all of that, he said, Akshay, I've always noticed something about you, which is you have this unique ability to convert complex into simple. Right? I was never aware of that. So I was very happy to hear if he thought that way. He said, be a legal problem. And now with coaching and everything, I'm so sure you will add value by changing complexity to simplicity, to simplify the problems for people, whoever you're serving. So yeah, I think people notice, Rudy Bhai, somewhere what happens. And so that was one of the motivations as my inner self was developing. I said, why not wear it on my sleeves now?
Yes,
Call myself Sage Counsel and actually
that's amazing.
have courage to go out and
your
stuff.
work is actually reflecting your convictions now.
In that ways.
Yes.
That ways.
Yes. So, Akshay, I'm sure you've seen some very difficult situations, work-wise also, and personal life, because, and as a lawyer, you have to deal with some very, very difficult situations. How has your engagement with heartfulness and meditation helped you in those?
Yeah. So I think it has helped me get a perspective as we sometimes, say correct thinking, right understanding, and integrity of purpose in our thought. So what happened was that 2011 I was introduced to heartfulness. I passed out in 2004, out of which 2 years I spent in New York, 2 years or a little more than that. So I was being considered to become partner in 2012, right? I just come back in 2010, 11, and within 2 years of being a senior associate, again, I was being considered to be a partner in 2012. And that would have been considered fast track, right? Faster achievement in that sense. But somehow, it didn't happen that year. But thanks to heartfulness, it didn't affect me that much, right? After some time, in fact, I realized, how has it actually impacted me? My lifestyle is not going to change drastically. I'll be driving the same car, living in the same house, eating same food, right? Yeah, some compensation would have increased, but that would not drastically change my lifestyle, right? I'll be doing very similar work, I was leading transactions even as a senior associate, and that's why they were considering me for being a partner. And I would continue to do that. And it didn't affect me that much. In fact, I became partner in 2013 along with a lot of my colleagues in regular course of things. I really think it was a blessing or a boon in disguise that it didn't let my ego go out of control, which might have happened, which may have also created some friction or jealousy amongst my peers.
Sure. Yeah.
Right? Because who knows who is deserving? How can I say I'm more deserving or what happened or not happened? In a way, it was quite nice that I became partner along with my peers, right? Along with people passing out of same batch,
Wow.
right? And whatever happened 2012 happened in 2013. How did it affect my life? So that perspective comes. And I didn't take a rash decision of leaving the firm, finding offers in the market or something or the other. And I still cherish my relationship with my folks at JSA. Mr. Jyoti Sagar, who is the founder, is my mentor, my guru in my material life. I have a fantastic relationship with him. I'm on board of trustees for his not-for-profit foundation to save Genesis Foundation, which saves little hearts from congenital diseases like infants who are from economic backward. They try to get medical help to babies with congenital heart diseases. So yeah, that wouldn't have happened. And then later in life, you go through patches where you have very difficult situations. And I took them in stride, I would say. Yes, they are uncomfortable. But I again took that as some level of refining of ego happening. They're being required for your ego to be refined. And if I look back, how did it affect me? It affected me in a positive way. Maybe I'm a more refined individual. But ultimately, how did it affect me?
Wow. Yeah, so
Right?
you have that distance, you have that perspective to be able to see that it won't affect
Yes. It gives you a perspective. And I guess perhaps now while talking to you, I'm understanding what Daji means when he says your evolution of consciousness. I think. And that's what
Yes.
awareness and expansion of awareness sometimes means, and things have happened very naturally. I think universe has been guiding me in my profession also, that leaning from one place to another. And I'm so thankful to all my mentors in my profession who have contributed to my life, Mr. Jyoti Sagar, Mr. Mohit Saraf, and so on and so forth.
And your Jijaji.
Sorry?
Jijaji.
Oh, my Jijaji, of course. He has a very, very important role to get me into the profession.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Akshay.
Thank you.
It's been absolutely wonderful, and can't wait to have you back in Kanha again so we can sit down and have another chat.
Yes. Pleasure is entirely mine. I know the time has actually did flown by. And to be honest, I never realized I would be saying, I don't know where all these responses have come from. So there is this magic of Kanha happening.
Yes, indeed. And it's been beautiful, and I'm sure inspirational also.
Yes.
In many ways. Thank you.
Thank you, Rudy Bhai.
Thank you so much for tuning in to KanhaCast. I hope you enjoyed this conversation. To listen to more such conversations, do subscribe to KanhaCast on YouTube, or you can also find us on Spotify on the KanhaCast channel. That is KanhaCast. Short excerpts from these conversations are also on Instagram. Once again, thank you for listening. This is Hill Dog signing off. Namaste and woof woof.